Welcome back to another brand new season of TVGP's We Roguelike, the show we play every roguelike in history. This month we're going to be playing Griftlands. I'm your host, Boston. I'm playing this on the PlayStation 5. I'm joined as always by Moonpair.
Howdy, Xbox Series X.
And Griftlands is a roguelike deck
Oh,
building conversational RPG.
yeah,
Did I miss
with
any
combat
pieces of
thrown
this
in.
stew? Yeah, with combat, yeah. Yeah, it's a little turn-based combat for a little seasoning on top of it. Um, this is by Clay Entertainment. They made Don't Starve and N Plus, Invisible Ink, Mark of the Ninja, Shank, Oxygen Not Included. Like they've kind of had banger after banger.
Yeah, and they also have a very distinct art style. So as
Yes.
soon as you see it, you kind of know that this is one of their games.
Yeah.
Have you seen what the header on their website says, by the way?
No.
Clay Entertainment. Clay, it rhymes with play.
That's really good. All right. Good. I like it.
Because for
Nice
those
and
who don't
simple.
know, it's spelled Klei.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, this was in early access in 2019 and it came out of early access earlier this year, and when it came out of EA it went on consoles at the same time too, which is when I picked it up because I thought, well, Clay's making a roguelike. It's probably going to be pretty good. And
Mhm.
you get to it reminded me a lot of the sort of positive parts of Signs of the Sojourner, where it was like, oh, I'm using these cards to progress conversation, and then Griftland turns out to be significantly different than that.
Yep.
Which, based on how much slash little we like Signs of the Sojourner, maybe that's a good thing. All right, let's get into it. How you feel about Griftlands?
Okay, so let's start with my biggest complaint with Griftlands.
Okay.
It is not short.
No, runs are outside of even your first run can be pretty long, and runs after that are lengthy.
I'm on day 2 of my first run, nighttime, and it feels like I've played the game for about 6 hours, which is
Yeah.
normally like 10 runs in a roguelike.
Yeah, like 10 runs after you got your feet down. Like, yeah, they
Uh-huh.
are. This game is meaty because I feel like I didn't expect this game to be. I expected it to be like the standard roguelike we play, which is you fight all this stuff in a room, you move to the next one, you fight all that stuff, move into the next room. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this turns out to be like a Shin Megami Tensei map style, where you're continuing quests, through multiple steps across the map, and you're like running into random encounters, which they could be a fight, they could not be, as you're sort of traversing the map. And there's a lot of text in this game. Uh,
Yeah, a lot.
yeah, most of it really well written, but there is just a lot of it. It is a significantly more different game than I think I was expecting.
Yeah, same, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Like, there were certain things I was expecting, certain things I wasn't. Like, uh, it's very mechanic heavy.
Yes, we'll get into my one big criticism when we talk about the battle systems. But to say that it's mechanic heavy is underselling it, because I think there's a really cool mechanic in this game where you are making friends or foes across your entire run. And I like that system where it's like, oh, well, you took this job from this one guy, so the person that you turned the job down from, you usually get a choice between two of them. He
Mhm.
hates the other dude hates you now, and if he works for the cops, whatever they're called, That whole group
The
hates you now too.
Admiralty.
Yeah, the Admiralty, which is like such a good like desert punk name. Um, that whole group hates you now. So if you're gonna do something with them or try and sort of coerce them, you're gonna have to do a little bit more to kind of get them on your side or get them to help you. And
Hmm.
the reverse is true, where if you run into someone that's friends with someone you're doing a job for, it's like, you got that guy with you. Yeah, come on in, no big deal. Yeah, it's all good. I think that's a really cool system.
Yeah, I like the social links,
Yeah,
for lack of a
yes.
better way to phrase it,
Mm-hmm.
is it's pretty interesting, but it is just one more thing stacked on top of a mountain of things.
Yeah,
Like, for example, your cards gain experience points in battle,
right,
which you can then evolve the cards at the end of the battle.
right.
There are certain cards that you can only use a certain number of times.
Before they like disappear or destroy themselves or hurt you or something like that.
Uh-huh. So I like the elbow strike card a lot, and I made the mistake of upgrading it to the final strike, which is literally a one-time use card.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, I one-time use cards never feel strong enough for me to
Oh,
go that upgrade path.
it was an 8 straight damage.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad, but like I feel like pretty quickly in the game you're fighting stuff that has like 70 something health. So
Uh-huh.
8 like doesn't really. That's why I really like stuff that is debuffing the enemy, putting poison on them, building up stacks of stuff that you can then like, I built up 5 stacks of this thing. I'll play a different card to do like 40 damage this turn. That using those builds feels really strong.
Yeah, and like it's something I'm still trying to work on is actually producing a build because
Yeah.
I'm still trying to learn what these cards are, to be
Mm.
completely honest.
And there's a lot of them. Like I there's a lot of them in both combat styles. So
Uh-huh.
like keeping them all straight is pretty challenging, I have found. Um,
Yes.
let's speaking of both combat styles, let's talk about the like actual fisticuffs battling style first. Um,
Uh-huh.
it's usually like left side, right side, line them up. People take turns, that sort of thing. How do you feel about that system?
I think it's okay because one
Mm,
of the controls are a little bit skew-whiff sometimes on the Xbox.
yeah. Hmm.
Like there is two modes, which is like an inspection mode and a actual play the cards mode,
Yep.
and you have to like back out of the inspection mode, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's sort of like, well, if I'm looking at the card and I want to play it, let me just play the card. Yeah.
Yes. Um, I like the battle system because it's always telling you exactly what's going on. Like it does the Steel Dawn Raiders, whatever it's called, the mechs on the isometric grid mechs game, roguelike, they drop in, they
Into
time
the
travel.
breach.
Thank you.
Okay.
It does that thing where it tells you
Mm,
exactly what's going to happen about to you on the other turns.
yep.
So then throw up some extra defense. Throw up some. He's only going to hit for 2, so now is my time to start chipping away at things like that.
Exactly.
And it also does a really good job of telling you exactly what their stats are. Like I was hunting an animal that had like I think it was 10 defense stacks,
Hmm.
but once you got rid of the 10 defense stacks, like all weapons became much more effective.
Oh, sure.
And it's like, okay, so if I do like little quick hits to get rid of the defense stacks, and then try and save my more powerful chunk of hits for the the defenseless side of it.
Like his
Um,
actual health.
yes,
Yeah.
and it's also weird that everybody can surrender. Everybody can surrender.
Yeah, and you can choose to accept that surrender or not, which also has like social link ramifications, which I think is kind of neat. Where it's like, yeah, this dude's a bad dude. Like, I'm just gonna kill him. I'm not gonna accept a surrender. And then it's like, yeah, these 4 people really hate you now because you killed their friend. It's like, oh, Well,
Uh-huh.
crap. Okay. Great.
The one downside for this for me is when I'm standing up and away from the computer because I'm doing something, be that getting a drink or feeding my cat or whatever, the achievements all come up on that sidebar when you wait for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
So I get previews of the achievements, and there's one which is like beat the game in 30 minutes. It's like, what?
Ow. What? That's impossible.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Sure. All right. Yeah, I'm also a big fan of the sort of traditional battle system. It feels like I don't want to say it's like a stripped down RPG, but it feels like it's kind of distilled down to the important bits. So you get to focus on here's your cards, here's building combos, here's doing debuffs and buffs and stuff like that, as opposed to worrying about breaking 4 different bars on every enemy, or these giant snails act differently than these other units. Like they have defense, they have health. Take out both of them to make them surrender. um,
Hmm.
on the other side is the conversational battle system, I guess.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
it
The debate.
Yeah, the debate. It is needlessly complicated.
I was gonna say complicated needlessly is pretty good.
Yeah, I if anyone hasn't seen this interface, I would go look up some videos or screenshots. Either one is fine. It's not going to make much sense if it's moving or not. Essentially, you and your enemy both have like this big circle around you that then has buffs and debuffs along that circle. And each one of those larger icons can have smaller icons coming off of it. So sometimes, my biggest problem is sometimes you will go talk to someone and it'll say they have like 75 resolve, which is essentially like their hit,
Health.
yeah, their health for conversation. I'm an extreme introvert, so my resolve is like 5. Then I got a dip. But like seeing this circle fill up with icons, and each one of those icons have other icons come off of it, is just like I don't I don't want to
Uh-huh.
do this, like the machinations here. I just will keep attacking the resolve and maybe not worry about some of these other ones until it says, oh, you can't attack this one until you can attack this other one. It's such a cool idea that is so complicated, and I feel like the game doesn't tutorialize you enough for this system.
Yes. It gives you a brief outline, but it's expecting you to use that investigation system, the
Hmm.
examine system I talked about, to go in and see what everything is. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so this person's now got their main argument and 4 counter arguments or 4 additional arguments in the back of the circle kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so each one does a certain thing, and then have you noticed how it's encouraging you to go faster because during normal combat, not the negotiation one, you get fatigued, which stops you from getting
Yes.
XP.
Yep.
And then in the negotiations one, the other person gets impatient, which means they do more damage and have
Hmm.
more defense.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. You're trying to make it go faster, but at the same time, come on.
Come on,
Like,
it's turn based. Give me a minute.
uh-huh.
Uh, I do like in the conversational battle stuff, I do like how your character and the other person you're talking to, the little quips that come up when you do damage or you take damage, those feel pretty appropriate to what's happening. Like if the enemy hits you with a really giant resolve attack, your character starts stumbling a little bit and like stuttering a little bit and be like, oh, you crap, you brought up a great point. Like it feels like it feels like you're kind of on the back foot a little bit. And vice versa, if you're really hurting them, then you kind of put the verbal offensive on them.
Yeah. And I like the fact that it just does random things at the same time. Like it'll be like the text descriptors are pretty good. Like it's like now hear this as you
Yeah.
do a big attack kind of thing. It's kind
Yep.
of it's a nice little touch because
Hmm.
it's continuing the conversation as you go.
Yeah, and I like whether you win or lose one of those conversational ones. The the enemy will kind of if you lose, the enemy will clam up in the conversations you have afterwards. Or if you win, it'll be like, all right, all right, all right. I see your point. Like, let's come to an agreement on this. But I also like before the conversation happens, especially for some characters, you can kind of grease the wheels a little bit by buying them a couple of drinks, and then their resolve goes down significantly, or they have like a drunk debuff. So they're not doing as much damage, they're taking extra damage. I like that you can influence on both battle styles, you can influence both of those in the conversations that happen in like the text log before the battle itself happens. I think that's a neat system. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's so
it's
much good in this game. It's like there is a lot, but at the same time, the problem is there is a lot.
it 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 sort of feels almost like when we were starting our last game, Hand of Fate 2, where it's like, okay, I got a lot of systems here. Hold on, like I'm a little overwhelmed here. Griftlands, I feel like on your first playthrough does a pretty good job at tutorializing, um, but there's still just a ton of stuff. Like, I feel like the card upgrade system is fairly straightforward. Um, I think it has a really great system. You haven't finished your first run, so you haven't seen this yet. And I think it has a really great system for leveling your individual characters when you
Hmm.
finish a run. Because virtually everything you do will give your character experience that then lets them either start further runs with additional stuff like, oh, I have additional health, or I can start with another card, or some random person in the game loves me just out of the gate. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter who they are. Um, and you're unlocking outfits and stuff like that. But I feel like this is a really great example of maybe I didn't finish the run. I haven't finished a run of Griftlands at all. Because that first boss is really hard. Um,
Oh, hold on. What's the first boss? Have I fought the first boss?
no, you'll probably lose to it. Because
Is it
you're
the lady?
no, it's actually I think it's at the very end of the second day when you go back to your apartment. That's when you fight the first boss. And it's usually like going back to my apartment to rest because I'm almost out of health. Oh no, boss fight.
Great.
Yeah, I've beaten it a couple of times, but I had to do a couple of runs first. But I really like it when roguelikes like this, even if you die at the first boss fight, you're still gaining experience to then level up your character, like your overall character's level, to kind of get
Hmm.
better and get more stuff the next run. I always really like that.
Yeah, I noticed that I did unlock the second character, which I got for defeating the drone boy.
Hmm.
Um, which I can't remember his name, but obviously I'm not going to start a run with them until I die slash finish a run with the one I have. But it was like, oh yeah, by the way, it's a completely different story. It's a completely different set of cards
Hmm.
and completely different everything. Have fun. I was like, come on,
That's
dudes.
that's why I haven't started it yet, because it does say this is a brand new, totally different story, and it's like I haven't seen nearly everything in this character. Like, what am I?
Huh?
And I still haven't even unlocked the third character either, which is just like there's a lot of game here. Like I gotta I don't want to undersell this, but there's a ton of stuff going on here, which is maybe bad and maybe good at the same time.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts here on week one of the complex Griftlands?
Oh, we totally forgot to mention the art style is sick.
Yeah, it's I like Clay's art style. I feel like this is another one that's you're either going to love it or hate it. But I have always liked what they've done, and I think this it very much feels like the next step to their art style, where everything looks great, the backgrounds are really great, the world map is cool, all the characters are really well articulated. I think it's a really cool style.
Hmm.
Music's great
Yeah.
too.
Yes, it is, and it's also one of those because it's heavily voice acted as well. I
Yes.
am not listening to podcasts while I do this.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not at that point yet. Maybe in a couple weeks.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man. All right. Well, thank you very much everyone for listening. We'll see you all next run. Bye.